Hello, my name is Braden Adams, and this is Comet Tales. This is our application that we've been working on all semester. I hope you enjoy this presentation showcasing our work. So, going into it, what is Comet Tales? Comet Tales is essentially an interactive educational application aimed with teaching users. Our primary demographic is young individuals, grades K through 12, grade school individuals, about space history, space exploration, interstellar objects, you name it. And through Comet Tales, we want to allow users to learn more about the universe and the solar system and the cosmic bodies around them while being able to share their knowledge with others around the world on a global scale. Via discussion boards, via learning modules, via a gamification, if you will, of learning and sharing their objectives and their achievements with others. So what set Comet Tales apart from from the competition? Comet Tales, basically, our main thought process when working on Comet Tales was the idea of informal learning and allowing users to work at their own pace while still providing that structure and support that they may need for a fun-filled learning experience. So competitors typically focus only either on education or exploration without a lot of context for users and merging that together. So we wanted to create self-directed learning modules blending with exploration-based AR and quizzes, again, that gamification to keep users focused and engaged and ultimately entertained. So looking at our team members really quick, we have Brock Adams. He's our project manager, designer, tech specialist. He did a great job at delegating tasks, organizing our ideas, as well as assisting in the design and integrating our AR technology, which we'll get into in a bit here. Michelle Sousa, fantastic designer and research specialist as well. She designed prototypes and created many of our surveys, as well as collected a lot of the research and data from friends and peers. So did Max Rivera, another excellent designer, as well as a research specialist. Max also illustrated a lot of our early prototypes, as well as facilitating with the research as well. And that's me, Braden Adams. I'm a designer and content editor. I also illustrated some early prototypes and designed them as well, and compiled research and organized all of our content and our writings. So going on to market research and our key takeaways, when looking at market in the competition of what we wanted this app to be, we settled on three applications that sort of had a similar vibe or similar features to what we wanted to emulate. So we had Solar System Scope, Night Sky, and Star Walk 2. Key takeaways after studying these apps extensively are AR, VR features that were prominent and popular in almost all of these applications, and informal learning, exactly as I mentioned before, that was key in these applications as well, so we wanted to incorporate that. Market competition ultimately had a lack of tutorials and help guides, though, which we figured would be a problem for users, as well as a lack of an AR VR toggle for optionality for users. So over here, this is a breakdown of our market matrix. These are the applications that we looked overall, and we ultimately chose those three. These are the criteria that we required for each of these applications, and we broke it down to see which one we preferred. So overall, with our considerations coming back from this are we wanted to include tutorials and pop-up guides, as well as optionality for AR, VR toggling. So when looking at our users and our stakeholders, as mentioned earlier, educators and students, again, K through 12, are our primary objective, our primary goal, and our primary group of user profiles that we're going to focus on. We also have space enthusiasts, casual VR users, historians and researchers, and AR VR developers, but this is our main group right here, the educators and students. Stakeholder analysis, we have sponsors and investors, companies who support VR education. That was another target that we wanted to hit. Again, AR VR hardware companies, educational institutions and museums is probably the most applicable, quite frankly, as well as online content platforms such as VR and AR hubs. So looking at user testing and interaction feedback, we wanted to understand how users interact with these space apps, such as the ones that we previously explored in the past few slides. So we found a test user and we selected them to navigate the app Solar System Scope. And we utilized a think aloud protocol where the user would explain their thought process as they use the app and how that would work out for them. So results were compiled and eventually applied to an interaction analysis. So based off of our feedback, real quick, we had our user really appreciated the 3D models and environment of Solar System Scope, as well as a clean design and interactivity. Cons were a lack of clear instructions, as we predicted, bit of clunky navigation, and the UX wasn't as clear and was quite frankly directionless. So this is our information architecture. This is our app, obviously, Comet Tails. This is a structured tree-based organizational principle in which we broke down each of the main facets of our application and how it would work when developing a visual language and going on in our design. So we have our user profile, our progress, social, learning modules. It's all here. This is all the breakdown and how it looks and how we're all going to integrate that even further into our application. So if we're looking at target technology in our platform overview, Comet Tails primarily functions for mobile devices with strong processors, of course, devices that can typically handle AR features. As we mentioned, there is a toggle to turn it off if a device isn't able to handle that, but Apple and Android products that do that are preferred. So Adobe Aero is basically the client that we utilize to ensure our AR functionality throughout this entire design. We work with it, we learn from it, and now we're confident in our AR skills. But Adobe Aero is the base and the lifeline for this application. So that is a huge asset that we utilize. These are some other specifications that we have as well, but we'll move right along into our low fidelity prototype. I have feedback written right here. I'll explain this further in a future slide. But looking at this really quick, this is our low fidelity prototype. This is the base of what we wanted our app to look like. We have all the features and optionality here, our tutorials, our learning modules, our progress bar. This is just the skeleton though, and this is kind of eventually going into our mid fidelity prototype, which is a bit more polished, a bit more refined in what it would look like in an actual app. So you see we have our planets, our AR mode, our history, interactive quizzes, what have you. This is what it would look like. And going forward, if we look at our feedback, we had our users who we tested this on again, they wanted more directions and instructions and making them concise, additional navigational features with greater clarity, the visual language, they requested it to be a bit clearer as there was some confusion between icons in our mid fidelity, as well as more planets and more content in our historical missions and our AR features. Pardon me for that. If we're looking at our high fidelity prototype real quick, these are just the basics that we have. These are basic slides, probably the most impactful ones to get a sense of what it is. We obviously created a more colorful, more vibrant design. We wanted to go for a more appealing, eye-catching design for our younger audiences. But here we have our AR, as we mentioned, Adobe Aero. All of our other features, our learning progress, our historical missions. Adobe Aero, if we did, which we really want to develop this app even further and move it into React and actually develop it, we will be using Adobe Aero as our primary client, as mentioned. But here we have the discussion board, our progress, our learning, again, the gamification with our rewards. And that's pretty much all we have for you. And that's basically it. It was so fun working on this project. I loved working with this group, and thank you so much.